Hello, Anime. Thanks for coming. Let me get a couple things done here real quick. We we really do appreciate the fact that you came. We're in a tad behind, not too far though. I've got a lot of thumbs up already. Hey, Yen, how you doing, Yen? Welcome. Thank you for coming. Gotta get the get the wrong button there. I'll get the invite up. So if anybody wants to come up, hey, Edward, Mike, how you guys doing? There we go. Ed, if you want to come up, or Mike, you're more than welcome. And today I did some running around with some friends. We spent most of the day just running around. It's one of the friends I haven't seen in a long time. They're staying with the other friend, and we're together with my one friend's mother. We ran around today. Went down towards the city, then come back up. What all we did, I won't go into. But in case, so like I said, it's been a nice, soft, easy day. Hopefully, everybody can hear me fine. If you can't, let me know. Kind of waiting. I worked Friday this week. Usually I'm off Friday, so I'm going to have next weekend. I'll have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. So I'm going to have a 4-day weekend. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do yet, but probably won't be too much of anything. I'll probably just get some errands done that I have to get done. I'll just do them a day earlier or so, and have another day relax, sleep in, which I always enjoy doing. I don't know what's going on here. There we go. Ed, you're not coming up today? Well, like I said, well. Oh, by the way, this may interest a few of you. There's a course being taught at a college that a friend of mine works at, and on Catholic, Catholicism, Catholic religion, and I guess if I take it long enough if I want to get whatever you call it, into the actually accepted into the religion and change religions, I'd go longer, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. I just want to check it out. I'm interested in learning a little bit more about Catholicism. I was raised old-fashioned Pentecostal. If any of you know what that is, old-fashioned is, oh, wow, there's Big Mac Daddy. Didn't hear you come up, Mac. How you doing?
Oh, I'm sneaking in,
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Sometimes I hear a noise when somebody comes up. Sometimes I don't.
Well, I got my computer on, but I came up by phone.
Well, that's fine. I got my phone on, but I'm on my computer.
But not much going on here. My son's been doing a lot of work on our diesel truck that we bought,
Okay.
and that should be done this week, which will be fun.
All
I
right.
only put brakes, exhaust, all kinds of electronical stuff in it, switches, lighting.
Yeah. I don't know about you. I can't wait till the 6th of November.
Why?
I just want this thing. Both sides are idiots, if you ask me. So
Well,
you got to pick which side you think is less stupid or less dangerous. But I hate all these commercials. I've always hated political commercials.
Obviously, less dangerous has to be Harris.
Not
She's
to me.
not.
Like
Well,
I
guess you don't want to live with the Constitution.
I think we'll live with the Constitution. Remember,
Well,
Trump was already in office for 4 years.
Yeah, but this time it's just like his revenge thing. He's already announced that, and he's announcing suspend the Constitution.
No, that I've not heard him say that. I've heard the Democrats say it, but I've not heard him say
I can
it.
play it for you.
No, we're not going to get into politics.
No,
hey, Eddie, how you doing? Jerry, come on up if you like.
Actually, I think it's already in the bag anyhow.
Yeah. But
I don't think he can get the woman's vote or the black vote, and that'll end that.
Oh, he'll get more black votes than anybody else as the Republicans ever gotten.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's already been proven he's got more support than any Republicans had in years from the blacks and the Latin vote. That's already been proven. Harris has had the least amount of support from the blacks as any Democrats ever had.
My problem is I'm not a billionaire, and he's only supporting billionaires.
I don't think Harris supports us either. So,
well,
like I said, let's don't get into politics. I mean, we're
on it's a tough subject here. I know, but
like I said, we're on the opposite side of the aisle.
But
I can talk, and some of them can't.
No, I respect your right to have your opinion.
Yeah, I expect your right to be wrong.
See, I wouldn't go that far, but you know what I'm saying.
No, like I said, I respect you. That's what I'm saying. I respect your opinion. I just happen to think it's wrong, just like you think mine's wrong.
Well,
that just.
I just think the Republicans should have found somebody better to run, and then I might have voted.
I would have liked the Democrats to find somebody better to run.
They did that too late. But he's a 34-time convicted felon. Come on.
No, he's not been convicted felon. There's a lot of misdemeanors in there, and a lot of the felons you're talking about have been overturned. So, let's just drop. Like I said, let's just drop it.
I'm happy to do that, but I have more respect for women.
I have no respect for Kamala. It's got nothing to do with women. I just think she's a. I'm trying to think of a nice word. A Looney Tune.
Oh, I don't know.
There's a lot of women I would vote for, but she's not one of them. And if you would say, "Well, she's a black woman," no, I'd vote for Condoleezza Rice in a heartbeat. I think she's much better candidate, but she's never wanted to run for office. She's much more central, much more in the center, very intelligent. So yeah, I would vote for Condoleezza Rice, but not Kamala. No,
Well, a lot of people also overlook The position is only president of the United States. It's not king. It's not emperor.
I
And the
still would
president-
vote for.
And the president has its limitations of power, just like any other office.
Like I said, I still would not vote for her.
That's okay, and that's fine.
I think she's the main reason we are having all the trouble with the immigrants. And don't
We
get
don't-
me, don't get me
Larry,
saying,
we don't
"Oh,
have problems.
I'm being prejudiced because I don't like my best
We don't
friend."
have all the problems with immigrants. That's an invented story.
No, it's not.
Oh yes, it is.
No, it isn't. Yeah, sorry. I thought I brought you up, buddy. What happened? Jerry was up, but then he disappeared. Maybe because he didn't like the talk we're having.
I don't know.
But no, like I said, I have friends that are immigrants that came here legally, and they are ticked about the immigration problem. We live in New York. We live in New York State. Believe me, it isn't a problem here in New York State.
When I lived in the Philadelphia region,
There's a lot. The illegal immigration is a problem.
when I lived in the Philadelphia region, there was a lot of illegal immigrants, as you would call them, or we would call them. But they only came in seasonably.
No,
They came in. They came in to do all the landscaping. So they would show up in March, and then they would go home.
No.
Like right after Thanksgiving.
You're talking about immigrant workers that come in and do certain jobs. A lot. I don't. I'm talking about the Venezuelans. I'm talking about the ones that are coming up and staying. We've had almost. They've admitted, and this has been admitted, that over 13,000 criminals have been let into this country through illegal immigration. That's been admitted by both sides.
But that's not a huge number considering overall how many people come through.
13,000 people. How that's because they're just letting them in. They're not vetting them. No, that is a huge number. That is a huge number. Because you take New York, they get caught committing a crime unless it's murder, and even then, I think they're going to get away with it in New York City. If they get caught doing a crime, they're back out on the street the same day. They're turned right back loose.
So is everybody else. There are no special laws for them.
And I don't like anybody being released that quick. If you committed a crime, you need to be arrested. And if you're illegal, you need to be deported.
It has to do with the severity of the crime.
Look, no. If you're illegal, if you go into a store, they're closing stores down in New York City because they're getting ripped off and they can't stop it.
That's not just New York City. That's everywhere.
Yeah. Like I said, the
Walmart in the neighborhood to live in, Bristol, Pennsylvania, they got closed it down because there's a homeless campment out behind it, and they couldn't stop them from stealing the place blind.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, just no.
The problem is jobs and money.
And the problem is they put these illegal immigrants in New York State. They got them here in the Albany area.
They're
put them up
everywhere.
In hotels. No, hold on. Don't tell me they're not doing it because I know they are. They even admit they do it here in New York. They're putting them up in hotels, paying for it, giving them spending money, giving them a phone. The governor of New York has announced that she wants to create 5,000 jobs just for the illegal immigrants as state workers. As state employees, she wants to give 5,000 illegal immigrants, and she did this on TV. You can check it out yourself if you want.
I don't care if she gives them jobs. I applaud it. Give them all a green card, Larry.
State jobs are a really good job. You know how many people that are unemployed are underemployed? Let's go with the underemployed. In other words, people out there making 12, 13 bucks.
You assume too much. You're gaslighting me every step of the way.
Like I said, and they're legal?
No, you're gaslighting me every step of the way with your assumptions.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you're entitled to your own. You're entitled to your own.
Like I said, she said this in a news conference. It was on local news. This is not Fox News. It's CBS and NBC carried it. Local news. She said she's created 5,000 jobs to give to illegal immigrants so they can afford to stay here. She said that.
I don't think she was. I think she was calling them immigrants, not necessarily illegal immigrants.
Yeah. She was talking about the illegal. She was talking about the illegal immigrants because they have to leave where they're staying at the hotels here in New York. They're putting them up, and she said they have to be out by the January 1st.
I think they ought to hand them all a green card.
Have to leave.
As they come through the door, hand them a green card, and so they can go to work.
No. And even with a green card, you can't go to work right away.
You know what you don't appreciate and you never mention?
What's that?
If you are not born in England, you cannot go to Britain and become a British citizen.
I don't want to be.
You can't go. I didn't say you did. You can't go to Germany and become a German citizen.
Don't want to be one.
You can't go to the Philippines and become a full Filipino citizen.
No, you can't. I know that. You
the United States, you can come to the United States and go through the process and become a full United States. They're not trying to.
When these illegals that come in,
the process is broken.
Like I said,
the process is broken because you haven't touched the law in 40 years.
I got friends that came in the legal way.
Yeah, but but Larry, once again, there you go, gaslighting me again.
I'm not gaslighting anything.
I can't get a word in.
I know. I got a friend. I was with them today. They came in over 30 years ago.
Right, there you go. It was different.
No, they came in legally.
Right, but it was different then.
The process of getting approved by their country and getting approved by this country, and then getting admitted. They had to wait. They had to wait their turn. And the illegals are jumping that line and coming in, and the people that are waiting are getting jumped, the ones that want to come in legally.
How can you wait 7 years to come in?
My friend had to wait about 3 years, I think.
Right.
It depends on what
country. That's 30 years ago, though.
But it also depends on what country you're coming from. Some countries get in quicker than others.
The whole process is a mess, and it needs to be corrected. And they never want to correct it because then it can be used every 4 years as a political football. How come Trump? I know you're going to vote Republican. How come Trump didn't correct this the last time he was in? Because he didn't touch it.
Well, he did cut down on the illegals coming in.
He didn't build the wall.
Yes, he was building the wall. They stopped building it.
Steve Bannon stole $250 million. You know what Trump did for him? Pardoned him.
But like I said, they were.
No. Address that. Don't run from that. Address.
I have no clue about that. I can't say a thing about that.
Right, and that's the whole problem.
You said they didn't build the wall. They were building the wall.
No, he wasn't. Him and Steve Bannon.
I'm sorry.
He put Steve Bannon in charge of building it. Steve Bannon stole $250 million, and then Donald Trump pardoned him for it. Where do you think the $250 went?
Pardon me, but you know who Jerry, I call South Texas home is? Go watch some of his old videos. He'll show you where they were putting up the wall, and the material was there.
But you're not listening.
Don't gaslight me.
Yeah, you gaslighted me. You're removing. $250 million disappeared that the American people donated to do it. It wasn't even government money. And Donald Trump pardoned them. Fact.
Well, I'm not saying he didn't steal some money. Hell, a lot of people do that.
Oh, Larry, steal some money? $250 million. Now, steal some money is like stealing $1,000.
No.
$250 million is like stealing a little bit more than a little.
Think how much money was stolen in Iran and Iraq. Hey, Anna G, how you doing?
It's money goes awry everywhere.
Hey, Shane, I didn't see you, man.
Donald Trump had 4 years to do everything that you wanted done, and none of it happened. And now you want to vote for him again.
Well, nothing's been done as far as I'm concerned under Biden-Harris.
A lot got done.
Nothing good.
Right.
What?
Nothing good.
Nothing good. You're wrong.
What? Name one thing that's better now than what it was 4 years ago.
All the infrastructure that they're buying, that they're putting it in my neighborhood.
Well, there's nothing going on in my neighborhood.
Well, the internet's happening up here. The pipes are disappearing.
The internet's not the government. The internet's not the government. The business is putting the internet in.
Who's putting it in?
Whoever's going to charge, who's ever going to provide the internet.
No, see, out here we got rural internet, and they're putting up all kinds of government infrastructure. I live where a lot of this stuff is happening. We're watching them fix that could never be unless government money came through.
Anna G, I hope you're doing well too.
And it's infrastructure. But that's not the only thing that Biden did. Trump promised us medical care that he never delivered. Health care. And he was always going to say, hey, I'll roll it out in 2 weeks. I'm still waiting, Donald.
I never heard him promise Medicare. That's always been
he promised to do a better health care plan and roll it out in 2 weeks, not Medicare.
No, I'm saying
you never heard that?
No,
I can play.
I heard Obama say it.
Obama came out with it. It was Romney Care. Obama took the Republican Massachusetts plan brought out by Mitt Romney. They called it the Affordable Care Act. They then called it Obamacare. That's all the Republicans could call it, although they should have called it Romney Care. They wouldn't. And then once Obama put that in place, you know why Trump could never replace that? I'll tell you why. Because Obama came out right after he put it in, and he said, listen, it's not the best, but it's all I could do. I covered 11 million more people than I could have any other way. And Trump never could change it because he would always lose people and never be able to cover more people.
I would not take his health care they offered. It wasn't worth the money.
You wouldn't take it, but a lot of Americans still have health care to this day because they did. So again, don't tell us, don't base what you would do on what the 11 million other people did.
It wasn't worth the money to me.
Well, it's 15 million people now that have taken it. It's up from 11.
Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't worth the money to me.
Well, to you, it's not. But if you couldn't get, because you don't have all the pre-existing conditions. But if
there's more jobs, Mike. That's because they ended the shutdown. Most of the jobs Biden's taking credit for is jobs that just came back after the shutdown. That's where most of the jobs came from.
And you don't think that Donald Trump boggled COVID?
I think the Democrats did it worse.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not saying neither one did it well, but who shut the schools down? It was not Trump.
Who said inject yourself with hydroxychloroquine?
He never said that. That's false. He did not.
He said he was into getting it for himself.
He was talking about a drug that's used with horses. Now, I can't remember that might be
the disinfectant used to wash fish aquariums too.
No, he was not talking about that. It was a drug that was used for horses. Oh yeah,
it's hydroxychloroquine. We used to use it to wash fish aquariums.
No, he was talking about this drug.
Yes,
and I know
the same thing.
And they're vloggers. And but they tried. Now the news tried to say he told them to drink bleach, and he never said that.
He had no idea. I can only tell you this. Whereas Mark Milley, Mike Pence, Jim Mattis, and anybody else who worked for Trump, why did they all run away from him and none of them are backing him for his rerun for president?
Hey, Mike Hunt, because he fired them all.
Yeah, fired Mark Milley. No, Mark Milley retired.
Well, that or get fired.
Well, I don't know how you retire under Biden and Trump fired you. Explain that one. Right, you can't. But listen to Mark Milley's exiting speech. Please, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, well, how about the Democrats that cross over to the Republicans?
You're changing the subject.
Well, no, you're talking about Republicans that put down Bush.
I'm not talking about Republicans. I'm talking about four-star General Mark Milley.
And Mark Milley, we won't get into him.
Well, let's get into your naval service. Would you serve a dictator or do you serve the Constitution of the United States?
I would serve Trump over Harris. Sorry.
That's not the answer.
Yes, it is. You're asking me which one I would serve.
No, I asked you, would you serve a dictator or the Constitution?
That Trump's going to be a dictator. That's what you're trying to tell me.
No, I'm not. I didn't try to tell you that.
Yes, you are. Don't gaslight me.
I'm not trying to gaslight you.
Trump before
who do you, when you took your oath of of seamanship?
No, I never took an oath of seamanship.
Okay, what'd you take an oath to?
An oath to serve the United States Navy. It's not seamanship.
Right, and uphold the United States, not a king, not a dictator.
What I'm saying,
not an oligarch.
The same oath is taken by the Marines, Air Force, Army, and Navy all at the same time.
Yes,
it's the same oath. It's not the seaman. It's the military oath of service.
Okay, so I need a little help with that. Let me tell you this: you took it not to support a dictator.
Well, like I said, I would between the two, I pick Trump. I don't think he'll be a dictator. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well,
you think he will be. I don't.
He tried it last time.
No, he didn't.
What was January 6th? He wasn't trying to. He wasn't trying to have an insurrection and replace our government.
He told him to be peaceful. No,
yeah, sure.
Yes, he did. Listen to the whole thing. Yes, he did tell him to go down there, but he told him to be peaceful.
Yeah. And they went down there. They went down there to be peaceful.
We got Mike coming up. Hey, Mike, Mr. Hunt. How you doing,
guys?
Mike?
What's going on?
Oh, not too much. We're getting into politics, which I want to get out of.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like I said, he's Democrat. I'm Republican.
No, I'm not a Democrat. Don't paint me with that brush.
Huh?
Don't paint me with that brush. I'm not a Democrat, but in this case, I have to vote Democrat.
Well, I voted Democrat in the past. I'm not in this case. I'm voting Republican.
You're choosing.
Thank you. That's right. Thank you. That's a better way to put that.
But like I said, I have voted Democrat in the past. I voted for Democrat presidents before, but I'm not voting for this one. I don't trust her. I think she's a moron.
They think Trump's a moron.
I think Trump's a loser.
That might be, but I'd rather have a mean tweeter over someone who is as out of touch as she is. That's my opinion, and you're not going to change it. Yes, I know Trump is a jerk. I know that. I'll give you that 100 times over. He is a blank as a person.
She answers everything with, I came from a middle class, and that doesn't cut it. She can go around circles about that she was from the middle class, but that doesn't answer the question.
No, she doesn't answer any questions.
Trump answers
I was raised middle class. And I'm going to tell you something. She should say I was raised upper middle class because she wasn't lower like I was. I was lower middle class. Especially after my dad went on total disability, I was about 11 years old, going on 12. I went from middle class, maybe upper middle class, up towards the upper part, to lower middle class. Actually, working poor for a while, then back to lower middle class. But we were poor for a while. Had to get government assistance and all that stuff. I remember standing in line to get the free cheese and the free peanut butter and the powdered milk with my mom. Like I said, we were poor for a while. We didn't have any money coming in. So I went through that when I was 11 years old. But then, like I said, my dad finally got his Social Security. He went on total disability, could not work the rest of his life. He went from 258 pounds down to 150 in 3 months. Went from being able to pick up over 200 pounds. If he picked up 20, he'd be sicker than a dog. He was a truck driver cross country. He was done. He lifted something wrong, loading his own truck. Back then they did it. This is back in the 60s. And my mom didn't work because, there were 7 kids. She stayed home. She was working, but it was at home. She had 7 kids to take care of in the house. So when Dad went on total disability, until Mom got a job and Dad got his Social Security finally, we were dirt poor. You were struggling to make your rent. A lot of us kids worked and chipped in the money to pay the bills, buy the groceries. That's when I started learning how to cook when I was that young, because my mom, once she went to work, we had to take over a lot of the household chores.
I've done that in my life.
Don't tell me about poor. I know about poor.
My dad walked out when I was 13 years old, Larry.
Yeah, but I'm just saying though, I know about poor.
I was 13 years old working a full-time job and cutting lawns and had a paper route. So
I cut grass, shoveled snow, raked leaves, had two paper routes. Because in Indiana, you couldn't work a full-time job until you were 16. You could work part-time at 15, but you couldn't work anything but summer jobs before that. That's the only time you could work outside of doing what I did.
well, I used to cook in restaurants at night after school. And sometimes I didn't get out of there till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
I started doing that at 16.
Because we didn't close.
I went to school full time and the restaurant didn't close till 10.
Well, we didn't close our restaurant until 1 if they were buying food.
Now we closed down at 10. Now I wouldn't get out till 11. And on Saturdays I'd work 12 to 16 hours, and on Sunday I'd work 10 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I wanted something, I had to earn the money to buy it. My parents, like I said, once my dad was done working, that was it. With that many kids, they could provide your necessities, the roof over your head and your food. But if you want something special,
My mother didn't have a bunch of kids, but she had a bunch of bills, and I used to pay them.
yeah. Like I
That's
said,
good
my
on
mom
you.
she had 7 kids. My oldest sister, just left the house just before my dad went on total disability. So there were 6 of us at home. And my oldest sister helped kick in too, even though she was no longer living there. So, yeah.
My life's always been tough.
Well, it wasn't for bad luck, I'd have no luck.
I won't go that far. I'd rather be lucky than good.
I'd rather be good and lucky.
I just want to get
So how
lucky.
you doing, Mike? Let's get on a different subject.
Hey, but you know what I like about you? We can have our discrepancy on Republican, Democrat, or politics, but we don't hate each other.
No, we don't. We don't.
So many people attack each other over it.
Oh yeah, I know both sides. Like I said, there's idiots on both sides. We need a third party called a centrist party. That's the people with the common sense.
Well, that's part of the problem with American politics. There is only 2 parties, and there really should be 3.
Yeah. Like I happen to be, like I said, I'm a moderate Republican, or a very moderate Democrat. I'm pretty much in the center. There's some things that the Democrats like, I like. And there's things about the Republicans I like. But if I have to choose one way or the other, I go Republican.
Well, then that makes you a Republican because there is no other.
Oh no! Like I said, I have voted for Democrats because I like what they represented more than I like what the Republican represented. Hey, Mike, what happened to your camera?
Oh, shoot.
Did your light go off? I mean, you're still there, but your picture's gone.
Okay, I tried to go and answer a question in chat. Someone asked me if I was in the military.
I was in the Navy.
Trying to type it in.
Now, I was in the Navy from Crystal. I was in the Navy from 1972 to 1978.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, I was in the Navy from March of 1972 to October of 78. I was sworn in on inactive duty in December of 71 on my Christmas break before graduation. I graduated in January. I was a January graduate from high school. And matter of fact, my graduation date was my mother's birthday. And so that was January 20th, 1972, the day I graduated. It was a Friday. And I only had to go a half a day that day. And I didn't even have to go that if I didn't want. But a friend of mine was graduating the same day, and he didn't have his motor put back together. So I went in to help him put his motor together so he could put it in his car and get it out of there that day, because it had to be gone that day because he graduated. So it couldn't be there on Monday unless somebody else was going to work on it. And he didn't want that. So I went in and helped him put it together. And then that evening after my mom got off work. My mom and dad took me to Iowa, which is where my cousin George and his family lived. And I went up and spent time with them before I went in the Navy. I came back in February and was home for a couple of weeks, and then I went into the Navy March 3rd, which was also a Friday, 1972. That's the wrong day. Let me tell you that right now. That's the wrong day to go in on the service. Do not go in on a Friday. Don't do it. The reason I say that is because you get absolutely nothing done. You'll get there on Friday. You won't even be assigned to your company. They'll get you and they'll take you into this big barracks that everybody, you'll be sharing barracks with people who's not even going to be in your company over the weekend. Your boot camp doesn't start till Monday when you're assigned a company. So that was 3 days that I could have been home because it didn't count towards my boot camp. Now it counted towards me being in the service. So if I was going for a retirement, that would have done me some good. But as far as boot camp, it did me absolutely no good to go in on a Friday. And my older brother, his lesson was don't go in just before a holiday. He went in on July 1st. And July 4th, they sat around and did absolutely nothing. I don't think it counted towards your graduation.
Hey, let me do a little shout out real quick if I could.
Go right ahead.
Give me a second. Anna G, Crystal. Hi, everyone. I'm done.
Okay, like I said, yeah, you see somebody that you want to say hi to, as soon as I quit yakking my mouth, say hi to them. Or say hi anyway. Just say hi.
I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah.
One last thing about politics, though, Larry.
Oh, no.
One last thing. Go back and watch Mark Milley's retirements. You'll appreciate it.
Like I said, I'm not going to. You're not changing my mind.
I didn't ask you to change your mind. I asked you to watch the man's retirement speech. It's not political.
How you doing, man? But like I said, to me, the lesser of two evils is Trump. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know it's not that way for you.
I have to agree with you, Larry.
Oh, my God, you don't know Trump. So I know Trump from Atlantic City. Before it all.
Trump.
That's all right. I don't care. Like I said, I know he's not a good person. I already know that. But
it's worse than not even being a good person.
I don't care. I just don't. It's like, all right, when John Kerry ran for president against George W. Bush, I could not vote for Kerry. Could not do it. I didn't trust him with the military. I don't trust Harris with the military. I'm sorry, I don't.
You can't trust her with the border.
No, you can't trust her with the border. He doesn't believe about the border. He's one of those border deniers.
Since you mentioned can't trust somebody, because of Jeffrey Epstein, I wouldn't trust Trump with my kids.
I wouldn't trust anybody with my kids.
I don't have to trust him with my kids. I want to trust him with my country.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust him with that. Well, if I won't trust you with my kids, you certainly can't touch my country.
Like I said, I hope they release the list of people with Epstein and the ones with Diddy. They really, they really need to get those up with Diddy as well. Do you know about Diddy, right, Mike?
Oh yeah,
okay.
He's a piece of work.
Oh yeah, he's something else. And so Captain Pepsi, welcome. I don't know you. He says Trump 24, but I don't know Captain Pepsi. Never seen him before, but welcome.
Well,
I'm trying to get this away from politics.
They've pissed a lot of people off this week in Pennsylvania when you don't show up.
Yeah. I have no clue about,
Or the last hour and a half of your rally is going to be you dancing on stage.
Actually, today he's in Manhattan today. Or is that tomorrow?
At least he takes questions and answers.
He'll answer questions. You may not like the way he answers it, but he'll answer questions. But
you can't win with him. He's a Democrat. he can knock all the pieces off a chessboard, and then dance around like a chicken and say that he won.
No, like I said, there are Democrats that actually have some sense, and most of the time that's Ed. Most of the time, and then there's Republicans that have absolutely no sense, and then because like I said, both sides have their loony bins. Both sides
come with the numbers and just come with the facts.
But yeah, like I said, though, if you're taking the numbers from ABC, CBS, NBC, or CNN,
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not taking my numbers from a news organization.
Are we still talking about politics?
Yeah, I wish we weren't.
Talking about the political structure of.
Not so much the people themselves right now. It's just some of the. How shall we say this? Fox is right, and I don't mean right as correct. I mean they're on the right, and there's no denying that. They are conservative. They lean that way. Their stories lean that way. But so does CNN. So does NBC, and some of the others. And CNN's the worst on the left, I think. I could be wrong, but I think they're the worst on the left. And on the right, it's got to be Fox the worst, but that's about the only one you got on the right. So they have to be the worst,
Well, they're not. They're not the only one. Then you got USA Network.
I've never seen USA Network have a news program. I'm not saying they don't. I've just never seen it. The only one I've seen is Fox. I don't watch USA.
They're not a news program. They're an entertainment show.
It depends on who you're watching. If you're watching Gutfeld, you're right. They're not. They don't claim to be a news program. They are entertainment. They're a comedy. If you watch Gutfeld, he doesn't claim to be news. He does not claim to be news. That's why there's no Democrats on his program. It's a entertainment show. That's all it is. He'll let you know that he's entertainment. He's not. Now it leans to the right. Everything he does, that's true, but he doesn't claim to be news. If you ever watch it, you'll know he's not claiming to be news. Now, what is it? Fox 5 at 5 or the 5 at 5? That claims to be more towards the news. They have a Democrat on every night. Now it could be a different one. They have Democrats on there, but it's 4-1. Just like on The View. Watch The View.
I get an interesting spin because up to a couple of years ago, I grew up in the I-95 corridor, the Philadelphia market, and now I'm out here in western central Pennsylvania. So that's a big
Democratic county.
Yeah, but that's a big change because the Philadelphia market's heavily Democratic, and western Pennsylvania is heavily Republican.
Like I said, my home county. If you were running for county office, most of the time, a lot of offices they didn't even put a Republican up. It was all Democrats. So I was a registered Democrat because if I wanted to decide a race, some of the races I had to do in the primary because the Republican wouldn't put anybody up, so you had to go in and choose which Democrat you thought would do a better job.
Well, because of the Philadelphia marketing region, the Republicans almost cannot win Pennsylvania.
Well, that's like in Indiana, here in New York, because in New York City.
We'll see about that.
I'm voting.
Philadelphia and 5 surrounding counties of Philadelphia.
Well, like I said, try New York City.
Montgomery.
Try New York City, and then you got Albany, which is also Democratic, and Buffalo, which is Democratic, and Rochester, which is Democratic. I mean, the four biggest cities in New York State are all Democrats. Okay, I've been bucking the trend for a long time here in this state.
You know what kills me the most too?
LV, 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 LV,
The red
LV.
states can't. If you look at the tax money that goes to all the red states, they don't even support themselves. The red states have to be supported by the blue states.
Oh, wait a minute. What states are broke? California, New York, Illinois.
But where's the money come from to support the red states?
We all pay taxes. You know, if it wasn't for New York City, New York State wouldn't be as broke as it is. All our money goes to New York City. It doesn't go to any other state.
Hey, LV.
All right. All our money in New York goes down to New York City. If we could cut those sons of bucks off from our state, we'd be a lot better off.
And see, in Pennsylvania, it's just the opposite. The Philadelphia marketing region carries the whole rest of the state.
Well, it could be population wise that there's just not much outside of Philadelphia.
Well, there's
a lot.
and stuff.
There's a lot in New York outside of New York City, but New York City, they just bleed money.
Oh, absolutely.
They just bleed it, and so we support New York City.
Well, if you ever seen the trains leaving Jersey to go to New York, you'd understand where the population comes from.
All right. Hey, Elvie, sorry to hear you're not feeling well. I hope you get better soon. But she says she's just listening. She's not feeling well since yesterday.
Well, that's not good.
But Philippines just got bowled over by some big hurricane too, or typhoon, as they call it.
Yeah, they call them typhoons.
Because my friend in Bohol's been having a lot of problem with that the last few days.
That's why when you said y'all know I plan on moving to the Philippines. So one of the things you got to look at is what island gets hit the least. What city has the most to offer to you? I mean, all this comes into play. That's one of the reasons why I want to go to Cebu. Cebu gets hit, but the city itself is far enough in; it doesn't usually get too bad. I mean, it can get. I mean, there was a big one a couple of years ago that really tore Cebu up.
That's the one that killed Bohol up.
Yeah, but usually they don't get flooded because they're farther in and they got the mountains to help protect them. They usually don't get too bad. So that's where I plan on going at first, but that doesn't mean that's where I'm going to stay.
That's why we've avoided a lot of what comes to the United States here, Larry, because of the Great Lakes. You live in New York, I live in PA.
Yeah. But I'm far enough now down now that I don't get that lake effect snow either anymore. I used to get that lake effect snow off of Ontario. Lake Ontario. Oh, when I was up in Rochester, we get almost 100 inches of snow a year. That's average. Now, some winters would be
Where
a whole
you at,
lot
Larry?
worse. Huh?
Where you at?
I'm right outside of Albany.
Oh,
New
you're
York.
in New York.
Yeah. I'm originally from Indiana.
And I'm in
Yeah.
I'm in the Johnstown area.
The what town area?
Johnstown.
Okay, yeah.
My dad used to work there.
Where? Johnstown?
Yeah.
Now, where do you live?
Steel or coal?
I'm in Indiana, but right now I'm at my parents' house in Washington, PA.
Yeah, but where at in Indiana?
Fort Wayne.
Okay. I know my oldest sister used to live in Fort Wayne. My brother-in-law used to design color TVs, and I'm trying to remember who he was working for in was it Magnavox?
That sounds about right.
Or Sylvania?
Yeah.
Which one's in Fort Wayne?
Well, it used to be Magnavox, I'm pretty sure.
Zenith?
Phillips, maybe?
No, we lost Mike for a minute. But my oldest brother-in-law was an electrical engineer. He used to design color TVs. Now, the one
Admiral back in the
was in
day.
Batavia. That's the last place he worked in TVs was in Batavia, New York. He worked at Sylvania until they were bought out, and I think so. I can't remember who bought them out. But anyway, he worked till they shut it down. And then he went to work for Eastman Kodak. But you guys aren't probably old enough to remember the Sylvania Superset.
Oh
And,
yeah.
well, he's the one that designed the Sylvania Superset. It was considered the top TV for like 3 or 4 years in a row. And he's the one that designed it. But he started off working for, I want to say, maybe it was Sylvania, then he went to Magnavox, and then back to. He worked for like 3 or 4 different TV companies. And every time he changed companies, he got a little more money, a little more higher position. And then he had a chance to stay in TVs if he wanted to move to Boston, Massachusetts. And he was offered about the same kind of money from Eastman Kodak. And so they decided to take that and stay where they were living because the kids were in school and they just wanted to keep them in the same school. And it was about the same kind of money. So he switched to designing, believe it or not, they used to have that. Remember that disc camera they had? Kodak had a disc camera, and they took
Yeah, I remember
pictures.
that.
Well, he helped design that, and then they had these printers that you could go to and print your pictures out on. He helped design that. So pretty smart guy.
Yeah, I missed that. They quit selling that years and years back. I think it was probably around 92.
Well, he retired somewhere around, let's see, 20 years ago. No, not quite that long ago. Yeah, about 22 years ago. So that would have been what, 2000 something, about 2002.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the time he retired. He didn't retire on his own. He was laid off. They bought him out. And actually, it might have been 23 years ago because he wasn't old enough to get his 401k yet. He was too young. And when they bought him out, they said, here's this much money. They gave him so much money. And if he watched it, which he did, it was enough to last him for about a year or more. If he, just paid his bills and didn't go spending extravagantly. And he's able to stretch it out till he get his 401k, start getting that money in without penalty. And when they laid him off, they offered him 3 choices of how to handle his retirement account. He could take X amount of money and he'll get that until the day he dies, or he could take a little less. And if
Still living?
lived him, she'd get that same amount until she died. Whichever one died last would get the same amount. Or he could roll it out.
But he's still living, though.
Oh, yeah, they're both still living. But he could roll it out into a different account. As long as he didn't touch it, there would be no taxes on it. So he went down and talked to a couple of people, and he rolled it out to, I don't know, one of these investment firms. He did his research on it and decided which one, and he rolled it out to that. And they've been living off of it since he got the right age. And my oldest sister, she's actually a few months older than him, so they hit the right age at the same time. She's a retired teacher, and they hit 62. And when they hit 62, all their bills, outside of their living expenses. I mean, the house was paid for, everything, everything was paid off. They could have, so they planned on retiring around 62. They just had to do it a few years earlier. My brother-in-law. But like I said, so they struggled for a couple of years, but not real hard, but harder than they were used to. And because they put 2 boys through college before that happened. So the oldest son is right now he's kind of retired because of health, but he was a lawyer. He went to Cornell Law School and was a big time lawyer there in Rochester. He was a labor lawyer. If you wanted a contract, whether you were the union or the company, usually the company hired him, but he would negotiate contracts between the unions and the companies. and he'd go all over the state to do that. He was considered the number one in the state. He was in who's as lawyers and all that good stuff. Another very smart kid. And the other kid, he works social work type stuff. And he goes to college still, even though he's in his 50s. He likes to study. But yeah. But, you know, what can one say? If I'd have been as smart as them, I'd be retired by now. If I'd have listened to my little sister, I'd be retired by now. How many people can say that if I listened to my little sister?
I'm retired, but I'm injured military.
You what? For injured military?
Yeah,
What branch?
Air Force.
Oh, civilian in uniform.
Not quite. I had a beret. I was military police.
Okay. That's what we used to call you guys, civilians in uniforms. Now, that's all right. We were worse on the Coast Guard. We call them shallow water sailors. When I was on shore duty in Washington State, I was at a place called Pacific Beach, Washington. It's about halfway between Seattle and Portland. You needed to move it about 2.5 to 5 miles one way. Can't remember which one it was closer to. But you had to move it the other way. It had been dead center. It was almost dead center between the two. And up the road from us, about 10 miles up the road, was a Coast Guard post. They only had about 10 or 11 people. That was it. Now, my base only had 110, but we were a lot bigger than they were. So they would come to our base and party with us sometimes on the weekends. And this one guy, he wasn't about my height, maybe a little bit taller, not much. I'm 5'8". He wasn't very tall. And I said, you're in the Coast Guard? He goes, yeah. I said, man, I can't believe that. I always heard you guys had to be 6 foot tall. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I heard you had to be able to wade in if you're both sunk. Oh, he wasn't happy.
Yeah, I've got one too. The Coast Guard and the Navy had a choice of either bigger boats or carry Marines. The Coast Guard got first choice. They chose smaller boats.
By the way, I was on 3 different ships, and one of them was Gator Navy. Gator Navy is the ones that haul the Marines. I was Gator Navy. And like I said, that's the ones that haul the Marines around. I was on a ship. It's called an LST. If you ever watch any of the war movies where they show the big ships and they run in the ground and a ramp comes out and goes on the ground and they drive the Jeeps off, that was the ship I was on. In actual combat, you're expected to make 1.5 beach landings. By that, they mean you're expected to get in twice, but only out once. Because you actually do. You run yourself aground. You drop your anchor out, and you go full steam until you can't go any farther. You run yourself aground. The bottom of your ship is flat. It's flat bottom. And we carry something like 3,000 Marines. And then the front end opens up and a ramp goes out. And the Marines that are still on board, some got off out in the water, out in the ocean. There's other ways they get off, but the Jeeps and if you got the tanks there, they go off this way. They go out that way.
Hey, Girly.
Hey, Girly, how you doing? But anyway, like I said, you're expected to get in twice and only out once. And what you do is you use that anchor to pull yourself back off the beach. You wrench yourself back out to get off the beach. And it is a rough riding. Because it's flat bottom, it doesn't cut the waves like a regular ship. And the guy that invented the term rock and roll, I'm convinced, the guy that invented the term rock and roll saw an LST tied up to a pier on a calm day because that sucker never stops moving. I mean, it always moves. If there's any movement in the water, it's moving. And I was on her for a while. That was actually my last ship. I went from her to shore duty. And I would have stayed on her if I could have kept from going ashore, but I had to go ashore. They were so short-handed. They needed so many E4s. I was an E4. They needed so many E4s on shore, and they only had half as many that were qualified to go ashore as they needed. So it's like, no, you're going ashore, son. We need you ashore. Did not want to go ashore. Well, I was a partier, okay? On ship, I could get away with it, and I knew that. Because, well, if you're having a rough night, somebody would make sure you got up in time to go to work. And as long as you did your job, nobody cared. And once I was up, I did my job. But I knew on shore that there was any chance I was going to get, which I did. I got in trouble. I got busted. I made E4 twice. You know, the only way to do that, you got to get busted once. But so yeah, I mean,
our stripes are sewn on. It takes a little bit more to lose rank.
no, not in the Navy. You screw up, they can take it for. I had a buddy, and he was planning on doing a career. Now it's his own fault. He was an idiot. We were in the Philippines, or was we in Taiwan? We were in the Philippines or Taiwan. I can't remember which. But he had a girlfriend out in town, which he was going to take some stuff to her, which was contraband, which he wasn't allowed to take. And I think it's actually Taiwan, if I remember right. And he got caught going off base with the stuff. All right. Now he was at E4, had just made E5, but he hadn't put it on yet. And he was on a 6-month suspended bust, which means he had to stay out of trouble for 6 months or he'd get busted. Well, the 6 months wasn't up yet. So now, not only did he lose E5 because, you know, he lost E4 and he lost E3. Boom. Sorry, buddy, you're down. He didn't lose E3. He lost E4, and he, you know, it was that. There is no 6 months suspended bust because you're already on one. So he lost E5 and E4 all at once. Went down to E3, and that was it. He said, "That's it. I'm done. I'm not staying in." If you hadn't have been stupid, you'd have made your E5. You know, it's your fault. You knew you weren't supposed to take that stuff out, but he wanted to take it out. His girl and I think the lady that ran the bar that he went to, and like I said, I'm pretty sure it was Taiwan. You know, he liked her. He's going to take her out some cigarettes, or I don't know what it was. Could have been cigarettes unless he had too many of them on him. I don't know what it was, but he had something on him that he shouldn't have had on him, and he knew it. And they stopped him to search him for whatever reason. Maybe he was acting guilty. I don't know. I wasn't with him. It's like, man, don't do that. I mean, you know you're not supposed to do that. You know, I mean, I got in trouble for being stupid too, but mine was for not getting up in time and going to work on shore duty, which I knew was a good chance that would happen to me. That's why I didn't want to go to shore. You know, like I said, I was a party. I used to get drunk a lot. We lost Ed, but so, you know, that's what happened to me. And then I got it back and forth. They told me if I stayed out of trouble, they give it to me back. And I was out of trouble for 4 months, did my job, went from the captain and with my division officer. And the division officer confirmed what was said and what was done, and they gave it back to me. So for 4 months, I lost E4 pay. I got it, you know. But after that, I had two alarm clocks instead of one. I had a wake up call every morning because I was on shore duty. The guys at the desk I had to be on duty all the time. One of them would give me a call. Whoever it was would give me a wake up call if I didn't call them every morning after that. And you know why I was busted? You know what?
I did something like that too, but I didn't get in trouble. I made it. I got my butt to work and threw on a uniform and got there quick enough that they didn't care.
Well, what happened to me? Hey, Maris, what happened to me? That I had a 6 month suspended bus set up, but the day I was to go in front of the captain, I was late. So that was off the table. It was bust. But yeah, like I said, I was back when I was in the Navy. I was a very heavy parter.
Hey, Maris.
Yeah, So, like I said, I used to party a lot. And so now I hardly ever, I'm trying to think the last time I had a drink. I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before. I was coming back from Terre Haute, and I went down. It's a hotel I stay at in Erie, Pennsylvania. I stop in Erie, spend the night in Erie on my way back. They got a bar restaurant in the hotel. I went down, got a bite to eat, and had a rum and coke. That's the last time I had a drink. That's been almost 2 years.
Yeah, I broke down in Terre Haute one time. They
Yeah.
were the nicest people going.
Oh, it's a good place. It really is. If you, unless you get in the wrong neighborhoods. I mean, but any city's like that. You know, any city of any decent size, and Terre Haute's only about 70,000 people. There are certain neighborhoods that, if you might get somebody that might give you some sideward glances or even say something because of your color. Not as bad as it used to be. And I'm talking about white being in the black neighborhood, not black being, although that happens too in some areas. But most of the time in Terre Haute, you don't have that kind of trouble, but you still have it a little bit. I lived in a spotted neighborhood. If you know what I mean by spotted. Blacks, whites, everything. That's a spotted neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in one of those neighborhoods, so everybody got along, There was some people that come through, or maybe somebody that moved in the area that didn't like it, but they didn't last long. Like I lived in this one apartment house, and it looked like a house, it looked like a 2-story house. Downstairs was 2 bedrooms, upstairs was 2 1-bedroom apartments. And the downstairs was this black girl and her boyfriend and her kid. And I used to talk with them and sit out and have a drink once in a while with them. And upstairs was me and another white guy. I came out one time, and on my car, somebody wrote in chalk or something, "In lover." And I'm not going to say the word, but it was "in lover." It's like I just washed it off, and
Well, the one guy was.
it's like big deal, People are idiots everywhere. But if I was going to stay in the States, Indiana would be one of the places I'd have to think about, because it's more affordable than New York, and they had it was on the one of the websites on the internet. They had like 35 cities or places that you could live in the United States on. I think it said like $1,500 or less. Terre Haute happened to be one of them. Evansville was one of them. I think they even said Fort Wayne.
Huh.
But I wouldn't go Fort Wayne because you guys get a lot colder and a lot more snow than we do.
Yeah.
That's why I want to go to the Philippines. I want to get away from that stuff.
But I'm not
people
ready for typhoons and monsoons and stuff like that.
I'd rather have the typhoons. Like I said, that's why you got to pick where you live.
Yeah.
You got to be in an area that's going to be higher ground, so it doesn't flood easy. All right. Remember now, we're not being. You take some like a lot of the Filipinos and the Filipinos, the areas they live is the areas they were born and raised in. That's their home. They live. A lot of people don't want to leave their homes where they're from. They don't want to leave their families. You and I, if we go there, we're picking where we go. I'm not having a girlfriend before I go there, because I'm going to pick where I want to live. And like I said, right now I'm looking at Cebu City, but there's places like Iloilo, which is a little farther inland from the ocean, in the Bohol area. And they got a nice infrastructure there. So these are the things I'll look at. But when I first get there, I plan on going to Cebu, finding a long-term rental, get the honeymoon period over, if you know what I'm saying. Because by the time I was 12 years old, I lived in 18 houses. All right.
Wow.
I've lived in over 30 houses now. from the time I was born to now. I lived in over 30 places. I've lived in 4 states, not counting the military, which is 2 more states. So 6 states, counting the military. So moving doesn't bother me as much as some other people. But I've always had this honeymoon period when I first go somewhere. It's like you love it, it's new. I find it new and exciting whenever I go somewhere new. And after a month or 2, maybe 3 months, the newness wears off, and now do you actually like it?
The honeymoon stage is gone.
Yeah, it's like let's be honest about it. When they first get married, everything's great. It's like I've never been married, but when you move in with somebody, everything's great at first. But there's that time period where now it's like, all right, the newness is worn off. What things do they do that bugs you? And can you live with it?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the new city. Once you first get there, it's new, it's exciting. It's like it just.
Then it's what you tolerate.
Then later it's like, all right, now you start seeing the wrinkles, the warts. Now, do you still enjoy it more than you don't? Is it something you actually want to live with? So like I said, I figure it'll take a couple of months, and 2 to 3 months. So I'm going to go long term, and then if I've decided, hey, this is great, I want to stay here, I'll visit some of the other places just to visit them. But it's like, well, it's okay, but I think I might like it better somewhere else. Then I'll start picking places to go and check them out. To either weed it out or say, all right, I'll come back later and check it out a little more. And do it that way. Because like I said, the Ilo is one of the places I'd like to check out. There's a couple of places on Leyte, but I'm not sure because they're right there close to the ocean, so I'm not real sure how much. Because I'd rather be inland, some like Ilo. It's inland a little bit. If I guess if I was going to be right on the ocean, one of the places I'd have to consider would be Subic, where the old naval base used to be in the Philippines, where I was stationed at when I was in the Philippines for about 3 months, because they have a really good infrastructure.
You were in the Philippines, huh?
Oh yeah. I spent over 3 months in the Philippines, and I was my rate no longer exists. All right, I was what they call a ship serviceman. It no longer exists. What they did, they rolled that in with the storekeepers. But when I was in it as a ship serviceman, about 1/3 of my division was Filipino, and about 1/3 was white, and about 1/3 was black. We were almost even, not quite even, but really close to a third each. If I had to give a little bit of an edge to anybody, there's probably that's tough. Man, I really couldn't tell you who had that action. I'm not sure if it would be the blacks or the whites that had the most. Be one of us.
Huh.
But like I said, it was real close at all 3. And but we all got along. I mean, I happened to be a barber as well when I was in the Navy. And my barber sidekick was black. And whenever he was there, we'd usually play soul or R&B a lot. And if he made me mad, I'd turn it to country. He didn't like country.
I wouldn't blame him.
Old Fast Eddie. But Cobbs, I can't remember Cobb's first name. Black guy, really nice guy. We got along well. He wanted his hair all cut off. We were getting ready to go overseas, And I said, wait till we go out, wait till we're actually out and come in. And I told him what I was going to do. And he was down with it. I was going to act like I accidentally cut it too short in one area. So he's going to have to shave it all off. And he was going to act like he was mad. So we're out, and I have this razor right behind him, and I go, whoops, ship rolls. Everybody looking at me like, because I mean, I took it from here all the way up to the top, man. And I said, man, I'm sorry. And he's yelling at me, cussing at me. So I'm going to have to cut it off. And he says, we both had a good laugh later on, but there was nobody else around. But man, nobody, because he came in and act like he got me mad, see? Act like I was pissed at him for doing something. And that's why I did that, see? For a long time until people found out that was just a joke put on by the two of us. People were very careful not to make me mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do all kinds of stuff, man. I remember I worked in the laundry as well. Like I said, I was a jack of all trades and master of none, and in that field. And I was in charge of the laundry at this time, and I was in charge of handing out the laundry and taking the laundry in. And I was really busy taking some laundry in. This guy came in, brought his laundry, and he wanted me to stop doing what I was doing. We have set time for taking it in and set time for letting it go back out. Well, he was in the repair department, and he wasn't going to wait. My God, I'm going to get my laundry now. I'm going to turn off your steam. I said, you're not getting your laundry now. So he went down, turned off our steam. So I called my boss, the divisional. I think I just called the chief. I told the chief what happened. He said, well, hold a field day and close the place down. All right, chief, no problem. So we held a quick field day, and I sent the guys home. He comes in later on, asked if he can get his laundry down. I said, no, we're closed. He goes, well, I said, look, fool, without steam, we can't work. We're going home. Come back tomorrow at such and such time. You can get your laundry then. And locked the place up in front of him and walked away. They never threatened to turn my steam off again.
Yeah.
Like I said, without the steam, we can't work. We can't press clothes. We can't wash clothes. We can't dry clothes. You got to have the steam for it. So he thought, well, I'll turn the steam off and make him work later. No, we'll just go home. We'll come back tomorrow and do it. So like I said, they never threatened that again either. But yeah, there was some good times. I enjoyed the Navy immensely. I really did. It was a stroke of the pen is why I got out of the service. You want me to explain that one? Well, I was in during Vietnam. And when they were during Vietnam, they were very loose on qualifications. They used to take your age, your height, and your build into consideration for your weight. And remember now, they built the military up during Vietnam. So when the Vietnam ended, they wanted to shrink it. So they decided in their infinite wisdom, they didn't care how old you were or how big you were built. This was the weight. Anything over that, you're overweight. So I went from being like 15 pounds maybe overweight, which I could have lost, to about 40-some pounds overweight with one stroke of the pen. And it's like, you're out of here. Okay, I'm gone. So I got a medical, due to weight. I mean, not a medical where I got retirement. It just because of my weight, I got medically discharged. And I had over 6 years in the Navy. I was already considered career designated. So yeah, I was signed up to do 10 years. I had another 4 years to go before I was due to get out. And then I would have decided if I wanted to do 20 or not. Because if I stayed in another hitch after that, I had to go for 20 because you're over halfway now. And
yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed my time in the Navy immensely. I loved to travel. Like I said, I've been to the Philippines, I've been to Japan, I've been to Taiwan, Hong Kong, Hawaii, all these places because of the Navy. I was in Vancouver, Canada, because I was up in Washington State I took a weekend and went up just because I was there. Like, I'm never going to get closer than this. Because I was in Seattle at the time. I was actually Bremerton, which is right across the sound from Seattle. My ship was in dry dock. This is my second ship. And me and Burton, I can't remember Burton's first name anymore, but his last name was Burton. Me, Burton, I think Green, and one other guy, we decided let's go up. We left on a Friday. And a couple of them went back on Saturday sometime. And then a couple of us stayed over till Sunday and went back on Sunday. But we went to Vancouver, Canada, just because it was like, hey, we're not going to get closer than this. We might as well go. Because I'd never been, at that time, I'd never been to Canada. That was my first trip to Canada. Now since then, I've been to Montreal, and I've been to Niagara Falls. I've been to Vancouver, Canada. I've been to all those places. So, because, living in New York State, I'm not that far from some of those places.
Yeah.
But like I said, been to Mexico. I never would have been to Mexico if it wasn't for the Navy. So, yeah.
I've never been to Mexico.
Huh?
I've never been to Mexico.
Tijuana, baby. Tijuana. Do you want to? Tijuana. Well, that's what we used to always say. Now, Tijuana is just across the border from California. You can walk from the border to Tijuana if you want. It's not a real long. It's a walk, but it's not real long. At least not back then. Now, what we used to do, we never drove our car down there at night. So if you were driving your car, we'd park it on the American side. There's a parking lot. You can park it there. Then you walk through the border, and either you walk down or you catch a cab, which we usually there'd be 3 or 4 of us. We'd get a cab and split the cab and take the cab into Tijuana. Now, there was 3 bars in Tijuana that were considered American bars. All right, they were geared towards the American people because a lot of the high school and college kids that were under 21, because California was drinking age was 21. This is when a lot of the country, 18 was the drinking age, but California never lowered the drinking age. So a lot of the kids would go down to Tijuana on the weekends to drink because they were under 21. The same thing with a lot of sailors that was under 21. We'd go to Tijuana. And so they had these 3 bars that were pretty much, if you had American ID, you paid so much money to get in, but you got to drink with that when you paid that money. In other words, it was a 1 drink minimum. You had to buy 1 drink to get in. And then if a Mexican or somebody that looked Hispanic wanted to go in, they either had to have American ID, military ID or whatever, or they had to be with Americans that would take them in. They couldn't go in on their own.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because they were afraid there'd be trouble. And that's the same thing with the girls. The girls couldn't get in if they were Mexican. They wouldn't let them in. They wanted to keep that kind of trouble out. Now, there was bars if you wanted to go to. You could go to bars where there'd be Mexicans and everything. And I did do that occasionally. But there were some bars, if you walked in some of these bars, you left fairly quickly because they didn't want you there. These are more off the main street.
Yeah.
You could tell because of the way they started looking at you like, you don't belong here, buddy. Go somewhere else. This is for us. And so you just leave and go somewhere else. But there was bars along the main street. You could bounce up and down. There'd be Mexicans and Americans in those bars. But those 3 bars, no. And now there were kind of bars that you wouldn't want to tell your mama you went to either down there too.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there were some wicked bars down there. I stayed out of those because that's where the trouble really was. I think I went in one once. And it's like, nah. I mean, there are too many people acting like idiots. And it's not my kind of entertainment. And, I mean, I don't mind strip joints, but we're talking, yeah, strip joints. No.
Donkey shows?
I never went to one of those, but they had them, from what I hear. I know people said they went. I never did. But there was some strange stuff. And it was the same thing in the Philippines at one of the bars, strip bars. Some stuff that I thought was a little strange. I mean, there wasn't no donkey show or anything like that, but there was some other stuff that we won't get into.
Yeah.
We have ladies on here, so I don't want to get into that stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed it immensely. The travel, I loved. Now, the first time I went to the Philippines, I didn't even get off the ship. We pulled in. We were only going to be there 4 hours. That's it. They're offloading some stuff, and then loading something on. So if you weren't on the working party, unloading the stuff and then bringing the stuff back on, you weren't allowed off the ship. We had one guy that wasn't on there that was allowed off because he was going to go catch a flight back to the States so he could get out. That was my chief, petty officer, Chief Smalley.
Huh.
And then we had one guy came on the ship that had flew to the Philippines to pick the ship up and go back with us. But everybody else was on that working party, and I wasn't on that working party. One of the few times I wasn't on a working party. Hey, Aaron. How you doing, Aaron? Aaron? All right, Aaron? Aaron? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that name right. A-I-R-A-M. Aaron?
Hey, Aaron.
So welcome. So, but my next time I was there for 2 weeks. We left there. That was the next Westpac. We left there, went to Okinawa, was in Okinawa for about 10 days, then went back to the Philippines for about another 2.5, 3 months. And then left there, went to Taiwan. I was supposed to spend Christmas in Taiwan, but a ship, and I'm going to use air quotes, a ship broke down in the Philippines that was scheduled to go to Japan, so they couldn't go to Japan because they broke down in the Philippines. I think it's sabotage. I think they didn't want to go. Somebody threw a wrench in something. And so we ended up having to leave Taiwan to go to the Philippines. I mean, Japan. I would have rather stayed in Taiwan.
Yeah.
I like Japan, but I like Taiwan better. And for one of the reasons, wintertime is a little warmer in Taiwan than it is in Japan. It snows in Japan, by the way, in case you didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I found that out by my first trip because I was there in the wintertime then, too. I spent 2 Christmases in Japan. And I'll tell you what, though. I was in Yokosuka, Japan. And they had this one park. And at this park, they had a World War II Japanese battleship that was cemented in. So it was open for tourists. And me and a couple of buddies, we were out walking around, found this battleship, and we decided to go on. We couldn't understand what they were saying because it was all in Japanese, but it was still amazing to see. It was something else. And so, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of things I did that it's amazing, that I was able to do it. But yet it's not amazing to people that were in the service like we were. There's things you did that would be amazing to me, but not to people who were in your branch and served where you were at. Same thing with me. The people that were in the Navy when I was in the Navy, they've seen all the stuff I did. There's nothing new for them. Anyone that did Westpacs and been to the Philippines, they've been to Taiwan, they've been to Japan. Some of them even made Korea. I never made Korea.
Yeah.
No.
I went to Korea myself.
Now, my older brother was a plank owner. I was never a plank owner. He was a shellback. I was never a shellback. A plank owner is the original crew on a ship. If you're the first crew of a ship, you're considered a plank owner. And he was a plank owner. And they picked the ship up in Virginia, either Portsmouth or Norfolk. I think it's Norfolk, Virginia. But anyway, it was one or the other. One place he had schooling at, and the other place he picked the ship up at. And they took it down through the Panama Canal. Well, to get to the Panama Canal, you got to cross the equator. If you cross the equator by ship and go through the initiation, you are considered a shellback. Well, he crossed the equator, went through the initiation, became a shellback. I never crossed the equator, so I'm considered a polywog.
Huh.
And my brother, when he crossed the equator, the XO on his ship had never been across the equator, so he had to go through the initiation too. He wanted to be a shellback. And as an XO's second officer in charge. You probably call either the same thing or have a different term for him. But second guy in charge of the ship was the XO, and he had never been across the equator, So he had to go
It's
through
usually
the
like first
initiation.
lieutenant.
Huh?
Usually around first lieutenant.
Well, it depends on the size of the ship you're on. It could be a commander, full blood colonel, uh, full bird colonel. In some of the other branches, that could be the second in command on it. My first ship, it was a captain that was a no, that I think the captain is the same thing as a colonel. Trying to remember, the captain is 4 stripes. All right, 4 stripes is a captain. Commander's right below it. The thing above a captain is an admiral. All right, that's how high up we're talking. So isn't that a colonel?
Colonel was like 06.
But he's just below the generals, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's what a captain is, just below the admirals. Admirals and generals are the same thing. So I've been on ships where the captain was actually a captain, and the XO was actually a commander, which is like a lieutenant colonel, right below the captain. And that's the XO. I've had commanders, which are, like I said, like lieutenant commanders in charge of my department. I had a commander. He wasn't even the XO. He was just a regular commander too, but he was like in charge of all the supply, every supply, because the ship I was on was large enough that you had higher ranking officers. You go on a aircraft carrier. There's an admiral on there. There's not an aircraft carrier out there without an admiral, I don't believe.
Yeah.
And then the captain is the captain, but the admiral is the big dog. And then you have all these commanders and lieutenant commanders. And like I said, my commander, when we first got him in supply, was a lieutenant commander and got promoted to commander while he was on ship. And, but yeah, like I said, it all depends on the size of the ship, man. The tender I was on, we had almost 1,000 people. Okay. The nuclear cruiser I was on, probably counting the Marines, because you have a detachment of Marines on nuclear powered military craft, Navy crafts, whether it's a aircraft carrier, a nuclear cruiser, a nuclear submarine. You're going to have Marines on there to guard their nuclear part. All right, to make sure that because there's sailors that are not allowed to be around that nuclear equipment.
Yeah.
So they're there to make sure if you're going anywhere near the nuclear power, you're qualified to go there. And they're armed. And they will shoot your
They don't play
dumbass.
around.
No, not with nuclear power, they don't. And like I said, my second ship was a nuclear powered ship, and it probably had close to 1,000 people on it. Now, my last ship, the shipboard crew, without the Marines on there, was only like 225 people. But with the Marines on there, was about 3,000 of us. But the Marines, a whole different outfit, I can't remember. It might have only been 2, but there's like 2,000 to 3,000 Marines on board the ship with all their equipment. And it was no fun. There was nothing against the Marines, all right? But I'm trying to think of the name of the ship. Was it the Tarawa? I want to say it was the Tarawa. She was the first ship of her class, all right? And she was built somewhere else, so they had to do her sea trials. And she was built to replace a couple other Gator ships. At the time, not mine, but a couple other types of ships. And so they had to see if she could do what they claimed before they would accept her. The Navy did. I had to spend 21 days out at sea off the coast of San Diego playing war games. Every night I could see the lights of San Diego. That's how we weren't that far off. But we had to run ourselves aground, open that up, let the Marines run off, pull ourselves back out, load them back up, and do it again. 21 freaking days.
Yeah.
There was no fun whatsoever, man. Let me tell you. And if we just pulled it on the weekends, I wouldn't have minded so much. But we were out there 21. I could have been in Yokosuka, Japan in 21 days.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
I would have preferred to have gone to Japan than play those games. But that's what we had to do. You about ready to go to sleep there, boss?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
head here in a little bit. It's getting kind of late.
I'm going to say it look like you're tired.
Yeah.
You're probably like Jerry. Jerry likes to go to bed early.
Yeah. I didn't sleep well last night.
Well, I slept quite a bit last night, so I can't say that. Hey, LB, thanks for staying. I think Mr. Hunt's getting ready to go to bed, so I think maybe we'll close it down.
All right.
And
I'll
I
catch you
want to thank
later.
you for
Good
coming up,
talking to
Mike.
you.
And maybe we'll see you next week. Now,
Yep.
Mike, after next week, I think when the time changes, I'm going to start an hour earlier, so it'll keep
Okay.
the same time in the Philippines.
All right.
So it'll be an hour earlier here. When I change, it'll be at 7 o'clock our time and 8 o'clock in the morning their time, 7 o'clock at night our time. Because you're in
Okay.
Indiana, right? Indiana's
Yeah.
Eastern. You're Eastern, so it'll be 7 o'clock once we
Okay.
do it. That's not next week. I think it's the week after. It's either the week after or the week after that one. I can't remember which. So we got one or
Sounds
two more
good.
weeks. Huh?
Sounds good.
Like I said, I don't, most of my people that come on my live streams are either in the Philippines or connected to the Philippines somehow. Most of them are
Yeah.
actually in the Philippines. But so we
Well, I'd
want to
like
make
to
it
go
convenient.
check it out.
Huh?
I'd like to go check it out. I don't know if I'd stay though.
You never been to the Philippines?
No.
Oh, it depends on where you go, man. Myself, I plan on staying, but you never know. I mean, I may be so old now that I can't adjust to a different lifestyle. But yeah, if you can go over for a couple of weeks, or a month or more, if you can afford it, I would look for one of the bigger cities. Uh, a good place to land for the first time would be Cebu, uh, or maybe one of the smaller parts of Manila. But don't go to BGC or Makati unless you got a lot of money, because that's not cheap.
Yeah.
Those places aren't cheap. But yeah, you get yourself if you're only going for about a month, get a B&B. Do some checking around, see which city looks the most interesting to you, and go check it out.
Huh. Do I need a passport? Do I need a passport for that? Oh.
Jerry, but yeah, you'll get a visa on arrival. They'll give you 29 days on arrival. And you just have to show them that let's say you're just going over to visit and coming back, have a return ticket for 29 days after you get there. And you show them that you get your return ticket, you're in, you do your 29 days, get on the plane, go back home. And if you decide you want to stay, make sure you go down and apply for an extension. You can get an extension too without any trouble, but you got to do it before your visa expires. So you got to do it before the 29 days is up.
Okay.
But yeah, I if you can afford it, go buy get your passport. It's good for 10 years. Then start looking for a cheaper flight that and you can fly directly into Cebu. You can fly directly into Manila. I'm not sure if you can do it into Clark, which is Angeles. But I know you can get a direct flight where you don't have to land anywhere else, and you can fly right into Cebu, and you don't have to get, if you're going to stay in Cebu, you just fly right into Cebu, land, get off, go to wherever you're staying at, and do that. But I would do some research on it before you go.
All right.
Check out the best way to get your transportation. Like you get the transportation from the airport. Some of those don't want to turn their meters on. They'll rip you off. That won't be a lot of money to you or I, but you're still paying more than you need to. And you might be able to get a bus or something like that instead. If you're staying at a hotel, they might come pick you up. Find out. Just check. Do that. But yeah, if you've never been, I think you would enjoy it. All right, let's go ahead and end this one. So you have a good night now, Mike.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Now, hey everybody, I'm going to end this one. I want to thank you all for coming, whoever's still here, and we'll do this again next week. And hope you all have fun. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Plus, try to have fun. Bye.